Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Are we expecting anyone else?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so are we ready?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm ready.
Okay. In regards to COVID-19 emergency procedures and the administration of oaths via remote audio-video communication, this deposition of Paula Carballosa is being conducted remotely via Zoom. Today's date is April 16th, 2021. The time is approximately 9:30 a.m. Ms. Carballosa, in what city are you located?
Homestead, Florida.
Thank you. The witness is located in Homestead, Florida. My name is Sylvia Evans. I'm located in Miami, Florida. I'm administering the oath and reporting this deposition remotely. May I see your ID, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Thank you. Would everyone please state your appearance for the record and express your stipulation that the deposition and oath may take place remotely?
Dr. James Eric McDonough. I'm the pro se plaintiff. I agree to the stipulation.
Sam Zaskind of Oyster Healthman for the defendant, City of Homestead, and the witness. We also agree that this can be done remotely.
Thank you.
Carballosa, the witness, and I agree to stipulations.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Ready.
Okay, I just want to know, this deposition is being video recorded, correct?
Will be right now. This computer. Okay, now it is.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Carballosa, what would you prefer me to address you as?
However you prefer. Makes no difference.
Paula's fine?
Sure.
Okay. Could you state your name and your occupation for the record?
Paula Carballosa, Investigative Aide in Homestead Police for the Professional Compliance Bureau.
Okay. Is this your first time giving a deposition?
I believe I've done it when I was a dispatcher, but it's not a common thing for me.
Okay, this should be pretty easy. If you don't hear or understand any of my questions, please ask me to repeat them, and I'll be happy to do that for you. I ask that you please don't answer a question that you don't understand, and to please allow me to finish my questions before you answer. If you need to take a break at any time or use the bathroom, please let me know and we can pause the deposition. That won't be a problem. So how long have you been employed by the City of Homestead?
In July is going to be 10 years.
July, so that would have been 2011? Okay. Let's see, and what is your current title?
Investigative Aide.
Investigative aide. And what are your general responsibilities as investigative aide?
Dealing with the day-to-day operations of the Professional Compliance Bureau, backgrounds. I'm the liaison for public records with the department and other miscellaneous duties as assigned.
Okay, thank you. Have you had any other positions while you were at Homestead?
Yes.
Could you state what those were and how long you did those?
I was a police dispatcher for around 2 years.
Okay, and that was the only thing you did additionally at Homestead?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do before you worked for Homestead?
I worked for the Department of Children and Families.
Okay. Now, have you spoken with anyone about this case or this deposition?
Not aside from the attorneys.
Okay. Has anyone told you how to answer any questions?
No.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Have you ever attended any meetings about me?
No.
No. You've never heard anybody discuss me, any of your supervisors, any police officers or anything?
You're gonna need to be more specific, like your name come across. I deal with public records in reference to your request. So your name has come across, but no meetings.
Other than public records?
No.
Have you ever heard anybody at Homestead Police Department speak of me in a derogatory manner?
Object to form, and I'm also going to object to the scope of the line of questioning here. We're here on a public records case, and this is about whether or not there are additional records left responsive to requests that haven't been produced and are not about anything that anybody said or didn't say about the plaintiff. So if that's the scope of the line of questioning, then I don't think we'll continue. But if you want to focus on the public records issues, then we can continue with that line of questioning.
Mr. Zeskine, your objection is noted, and with all due respect, this line of questioning has to do with if there was any improper influence upon Ms. Carballosa when she responded to my request. So, Ms. Carballosa, could you please answer the question?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Have you ever heard anybody make a derogatory remarks about me in the police department, in the city?
In reference to public records?
In reference to me in general?
I don't recall.
Okay. Have you ever received any memos about me?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. I just would like to remind you real quick here that we are under oath and that you are expected to answer your questions truthfully. Okay, with public records, what's the general practice at Homestead Police Department that you operate in public records? How does it all operate? How does it work?
Meaning you want to break down on the whole process?
Yeah, that would be great if you could do that for me.
We receive the public record from wherever it comes from, the city clerk's office, a citizen, the front desk, an officer, wherever it is. The record is logged. It depends if the record has to be pulled by another department from within the police department. It's forwarded to them, then it's forwarded back to me for review, and then it gets disseminated, and they get worked on in the order that they're received. That's pretty much it.
So you said they are done in the order that they're received. Is that always done 100% absolute? Meaning that request A comes in on one day, request B comes in sometime later, request A always gets dealt with before request B, basically a first come, first serve, or first in, first out policy?
Yes, it gets dealt with. It may not get fulfilled in that order, but it gets dealt with in that order.
Okay. And do you coordinate any of your activities with a supervisor or anybody else, or do you brief your supervisor on the request or the status of the request?
Object to form.
You can answer the question.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. When you're working with public records, do you coordinate your activities with your supervisor or brief your supervisor on request or the status of the request?
Object to form.
Again, you can answer the question.
As need be.
Pardon?
If I need an answer or if I need to discuss it, yes. If not, no.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. I'd like to go over your affidavit that you submitted. In this case, you remember the affidavit that you submitted?
Yes.
Miss Evans, is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes, you can. I've
Okay.
already.
Thank you. Let's see if I can find this here. Okay, here's your affidavit, Ms. Carballosa. Do you see this?
I do.
Okay. Could you read paragraph 1 for me? For the
Item
record?
1. My name is Paula Carballosa. I am sui juris, over 18 years of age, and I make this affidavit based upon my own personal knowledge.
Now, did you prepare this affidavit?
Yes, I did. I prepared it with the attorneys.
And were you the one that wrote out all these statements, or did the attorneys write those out?
No, I gave them all the information.
Okay. All right, could you read paragraph 2?
I am an investigative aide within the Professional Compliance Bureau for the City of Homestead Police Department.
And paragraph 3.
As part of my responsibilities, I am the point person within the HPD for handling of public records requests submitted to a City of Homestead city that request HPD records.
Great. And could you read paragraph 4?
On February 18, 2019, at 6:45 p.m., plaintiff James McDonough made a public records request to a city via an email to City Clerk Elizabeth Sewell, wherein he requested all records, documented leave slips, etc., ad infinitum, related to any leave taken by Marguito between April 9, 2013 and April 9, 2015. This includes sick leave, vacation leave, holiday leave, administrative leave, and comp time.
Okay. In that paragraph, you state that I sent my request to City Clerk Elizabeth Sewell via email. Would you agree that an email is in writing and not verbal?
Yes.
Okay. Could you go ahead and read, let me scroll down for you a little bit, make it a little bit easier so you can see it. Could you read paragraph 5?
The following morning, on February 19, 2019, the City Clerk's office forwarded the request to HPD.
Okay, so we agree that on February 18th at 6:45 p.m. in the evening, I filed my request, and the next day, on February 19th, the City Clerk's office forwarded my request to you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then could you read paragraph 6 for me?
Would you like me to read the whole thing all at once?
Yes, please.
On February 20, 2019, the reports attached here to Exhibit A were printed. After the city received plaintiff's petition, the City Clerk filed...
Just paragraph 6. I'm sorry, just paragraph 6. So now we agree that I filed my request on February 18th. The clerk forwarded you my request on February the 19th. And on February 20th, you had pulled the responsive records?
I did not pull them, but they were attached to the request, yes.
If you did not pull them, how did you get them to print them off?
They were sent to the payroll department, and they processed that request.
So payroll processed the request and printed the records on 2/20?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Dr. McDonough, are you planning on marking this affidavit as an exhibit to the deposition?
Absolutely. I am planning on marking this. I'm sorry. This is Exhibit D. I'm going to use the same exhibit descriptions that I used in the complaint to make it easy for everybody to track and not get confused, if that's acceptable to everybody.
That's fine. I think you can mark them sequentially for purposes of the deposition if you'd like, but it's your deposition, so you can mark them as you would like.
I prefer to stay with the same nomenclature we have for the complaint. If not, it's easy for people to get mistaken or confused later, and I want to make this as clean as possible. So I appreciate you for agreeing with that. Could you go ahead and read paragraph 7 for me, Paula?
After the city received plaintiff's petition, the city clerk followed up with me regarding plaintiff's request. I provided her with the reports. The HPD responds to public records requests in the order that they are received. At the time the city received the plaintiff's petition, there were still numerous pending prior requests from other requesters that had been submitted prior to plaintiff's public records request. As a result, the reports have not been yet provided to city clerk.
Okay. Before the city clerk forwarded you my complaint and petition, did you have those records that were printed off, or was somebody else in the possession of those?
I had them.
So you had those records on February 20th in your possession?
Yes.
Okay. All right. In paragraph 7, you're stating that Sewell, or I guess the city clerk, had followed up with you and had, let me see. Do you know on what day this was that she followed up with you? The reason I'm asking, I'll give you some dates that might help clarify for you. The complaint was originally filed on March the 8th, which was a Friday, and I was provided records on March the 11th, which was a Monday. Do you know if Sewell had followed up with you on Friday or Monday?
I don't recall at this time. I know those responsive records were given to them on the 11th.
Okay. And do you recall how long it was between when Sewell followed up with you and you provided her the records?
I don't recall this time.
Okay. And I'm just going to read a sentence from paragraph 7 real quick. You stated under oath that the HPD responds to public records requests in the order that they are received. And so I want you to, again, we agree that Homestead Police Department deals with records requests on a first come, first served basis. Is that correct?
Yes.
Would there ever be a reason that a subsequent request would get dealt with before a prior request?
Yes.
Could you explain the situations and that would happen?
It depends on the scope of the request. It depends on the amount of time that it's going to take to review it. It depends on if I'm waiting on another document from another department. I mean, there's numerous reasons why that could happen.
The records you had obtained on February the 20th, when you obtained those records, did you think there were any other responsive records to my request?
No.
So at that point, you considered my request to be completed, or the work to be completed, other than forwarding the records. Is that correct?
No, I still had to review the records.
Okay. So the first set of records you provided were basically records from finance that showed various types of leave, such as comp leave, vacation leave, funeral leave, holiday leave. Is there anything in those that would require redaction that would be exempt?
That is not, I don't deal with payroll on my day-to-day duties. I don't know what those records have in them. So I do review every document that I have to disseminate. I can't assume that they're not going to have anything.
Okay. And can you tell me when it was that you reviewed those documents for exempt material?
I don't know the exact date. It would have been before the 11th when they were provided.
You would have reviewed them before Sewell followed up with you. Is that correct?
I don't know. I stated earlier, I don't remember when she followed up with me. I know I issued the documents on the 11th. I don't know the exact date when I reviewed them, between the 20th and the 11th.
So sometime between the 20th and the 11th, you reviewed them, but you have no idea of what time it was that you did that review.
At this point, out of my memory, I don't remember now.
Okay, and did you document the time it took you to review these records?
Yes, I document the time for every request.
And how was that time documented?
You explain the question?
You said that you document every request. I'm asking, are those documented? Are those handwritten notes? Is there a computer program? Do you write yourself a note?
I just write down their personal notes.
Personal notes.
Of my, yeah.
And are those personal notes kept?
No.
No. So there's no documentation in the city that's considered a public record that would show the actual time that you spend responding to requests. Is that correct?
Objective form.
You can answer the question.
Can you repeat the question?
Is there any records or documents that would be a publicly available record that would show and document the time you have spent responding to public records requests?
Yes, and some of them, yes.
And what would those documents be?
Mostly emails.
Emails. So I guess you write yourself down a note, hey, I spent 25 minutes on this, and then you email the clerk, hey, I spent 25 minutes on this. Is that how that goes?
Yes. In each request, we would advise how long it took. If it took less than 30 minutes, we just say less than 30 minutes. If it's anything over 30 minutes, we specify the amount of time that it took.
And when you reviewed the documents, would you have sent the clerk's office an email saying how much time it took you to review the documents, or that it took less than 30 minutes?
Yes.
And would that email or anything in that email provide a date to show when you may had reviewed the material?
I don't specify when I review them. I just send them the email saying that the request is complete and how long it took.
Would you agree that if you send an email telling them how long it took, that would have happened before you sent the email?
Objective form.
Repeat the question, please.
Um, we're gonna have a whole lot of fun. I was hoping I could get you finished up today in an hour or so, Ms. Carballosa. If Sam Zeskind is going to continue to object every time I make a statement, and you're going to ask me to repeat every question that I ask, I want you to know that we're not going to finish this deposition today, and I'm going to have to call you back later. Hopefully you can listen to my questions and try to think about them and pay more attention to me than the attorney's objections. We can move a little bit faster, and I won't have to waste any of your time. Do you understand that?
You stated that if I needed clarification, I was welcome to ask. I need to re-hear the question, please.
Okay.
I'm going to move to strike that statement. There's nothing inappropriate about objecting to form. If a question is vague or has other issues with it, if it's compound, I just object to form. She can answer unless I instruct her otherwise. But
would you just like to make a blanket objection to all my questions, Mr. Zeskind? That could help everybody. I'm totally cool with letting you make every objection you can make to every question, and we can just move on. Or you can strike this. I really don't care. I'm trying to save everybody's time here. And if we're going to have to do this over 6 days because I'm going to have to repeat every question 6 times, then we'll do it over 6 days. It doesn't bother me.
Every question hasn't been objectionable. I'll reserve my objections to the ones that are. I don't need a standing objection for each of your questions.
Okay. So Paula, would you agree that if you sent an email saying you spent X amount of time reviewing or working on a public records request, that review and the work on the public records request would have been completed before you sent the email?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I want to read another sentence from paragraph 7. You said at the time the city received the plaintiff's petition, there were still numerous pending prior requests from other requesters that had been submitted prior to plaintiff's public records request. As a result, the reports had not yet been provided to the clerk. That is your statement?
Yes.
And you agree that that's 100% accurate?
To the best of my recollection, yes.
The best of your recollection. So I just want to try to dissect this so I can understand this. So what you're trying to claim here in this affidavit is that there were requests filed before my request that you had not yet completed. And that is the reason for the delay in me getting my request. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Let me see here. I'm not that great. I'm going to stop sharing this, and I would like to, let me find this, make sure I have it in the right place. I would like to show you another document, and give me just a second. This is Exhibit E from the complaint. And let me go ahead and see if I can share this with you. Okay, here we go. Do you see the document that I've put up?
Yes, I do.
Okay, this is...
Real quick, before you continue, I'm just going to object to the use of this document. It appears to be a portion of a document and not a complete representation of the actual document.
That is correct, Mr. Zeskind. City Clerk Elizabeth Sewell provided Jason Jensen with a copy, I guess we'll call it the master log of all records requests, and it's an Excel file with hundreds of entries. I made this to point out 5 entries. Do you have any problem with me just pointing out the 5 entries?
I don't know I don't have the master log in front of me to know whether anything's been removed or not. It looks like there have been because it jumps from line 45 to line 48.
I collapsed columns so we could see everything on one page. Do you have any idea or thoughts or beliefs that this is inaccurate or that I have changed or manipulated the data?
There's no way for me to tell based on this, and again, there's 3 rows missing between 45 and 48, or missing 46 and 47. I don't know what information is there that's been collapsed. If you want to use this as a demonstrative, that's a possibility. But again, in terms of the accuracy of the information on there, without it being the actual document, I have to object.
Okay. You can object, that's fine. We'll see what we can do. If not, we'll just call Ms. Carballosa back for another day to finish this. Okay, Ms. Carballosa, looking at this document, do you see the entry listed as 45?
I do.
Okay, I'm gonna scroll this up just a little. See, all right, I want to make sure that we get to see the top. For column A, could you read me what the description for that is? It actually is in column 1. For
They received?
A says the column A is date received, correct?
Yes.
Column B is date on the PRR, which I'm assuming is public records request. Would you agree with that?
I'm assuming those are not my logs, so yes.
Okay. Column C is requested by. You agree that the records I'm showing says that, correct?
Yes.
And then column D says type of request, non-certified photocopies of the calling.
Yes.
Column E is date and department.
I can't see it though. Wait.
You might need to minimize the pictures, everybody, to see this. I want to make sure that you can see this.
Date and department, yes.
And F is date completed, correct?
Yes.
All right. So if we look at request 45, the date received is 2/19/19. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if we look at the column E, the date and the department for that, it shows that it was received by Homestead HPD directly. Is that correct?
That's what it says, yes.
Okay. And can you say in column C who this request was requested by?
James Harry McDonough?
And in column F, could you read the dates completed?
Records provided on 3/11/19, 3/15/19, 3/21/19, and 3/26/19.
Okay. Would you agree that at least 4 sets of responsive documents were provided to me in this request?
No.
Pardon?
We provided the responsive documents and then clarification or additional documents were requested.
When you say clarification, what do you mean clarification?
The initial response had all the documents that were requested in the initial request.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. I don't understand how that's possible. Are you saying that I modified my request and changed the scope thereof to make more records be responsive to my request? Is that what you're stating, ma'am?
Not more records, but you needed, you requested information that was in addition to what you had originally requested.
Okay, let's look at column D for request 45. Could you read that for me?
One moment. Okay. Requesting all records, documents, leave slips, etc. ad infinitum related to any leave taken by Marguerito between April 9th, 2013, April 9th, 2015. This includes sick leave, vacation leave, holiday leave, administrative leave, and comp time, also including any leave, travel for training, or any other official reason.
Okay, and now the records you provided me on 3/11, you said they came from finance, correct?
No, from payroll.
From payroll. Did that first set of documents provide me include leave slips?
You did not request, there was no request for leave slips. You wanted.
No, I'm sorry.
Leave.
Let's start over. Could you reread the type of request in section D for paragraph 45 again?
Requesting all records, document, leave slips.
All right, I'll stop you right there. It says requesting all documents.
You use leave slips. So when you requested leave, all the responsive documents were provided.
But all the responsive documents were not provided because at least 3 other sets of documents were provided to me subsequently, correct?
Because you needed more information in reference to that leave. You wanted all his leave.
So all those other 3 sets of records that were produced to me, they are responsive to that request, correct?
No, they're in reference to his leave, but they're not responsive to all his leave. When you requested all his leave, that's what was provided.
All right, let me read this again for you. Requesting all records, documents, leave slips, etc. ad infinitum related to any leave taken. Would you agree that that is asking for any records related to any leave he took?
That I interpreted as you want records for all his leave.
But you didn't give me all the records for the leave the first time, did you?
I did give you all his leave records. They were printed through payroll and they were provided.
But those weren't all the records related to him taking leave, was it?
When we document our leave, that's what we provide. That's the official leave records of.
I'm sorry. I really appreciate if you would be truthful with me, Ms. Carballosa. What you provided me was compiled data from finance. When you want to take a vacation, you have to submit a request to take that vacation time, correct?
I do, yeah.
Would you consider that to be a leave slip? In the federal government, we call those leave slips. Maybe you guys use different terminology. What would you call the request you submit to take leave?
A request for leave?
Now, the documents you provided me on 311, did that have any of those requests where people are requesting leave?
No.
No. So I just make sure your answer to that is no.
No, I had the leave that he took.
But I asked for all records, documents, leave slips, etc. ad infinitum. Do you know what ad infinitum means?
Everything that there is.
Yeah. So everything that there is related to leave would include the request form he submitted to take leave. Would that be correct?
It would, yes.
It would. And you did not provide me with those records on 311, did you?
When I interpreted the request, when I got the request, I provided all the documents for his leave.
I'm sorry, ma'am. That isn't accurate. You
And
did
then
not provide all the
when
documents
further
for his leave.
clarification was given,
I don't want to argue, but
got all the other
we
documents.
need to make sure we're clear here. Please don't speak over me. I need to clarify this question.
You, Dr. McDonough, you started speaking over her. You didn't like her response. Let her finish the answer. And if you need a follow-up question, then you can follow up, but don't cut her off when she's in the middle of an answer.
Okay, please. I'm sorry, Ms. Carballosa. Please finish.
when you submitted, when the initial documents were provided to you and you explained that that was not what you were looking for, we went back and we gave you all the leave requests, what you call leave slips.
Okay, and when did
All
those
provided to
provided?
you. Sorry?
And do you recall when those were provided?
I can go based on that log on the 15th they were given to you.
Okay, on the 15th they were given to me.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, did you consider the records request to be complete?
Yes.
Okay. Could you explain how I then got more additional records on 321?
Because when you received the second set of documents, you requested for additional things.
I didn't.
Emails. You wanted city forms. You wanted, I'm not 100% sure what the wording was, but you wanted more than just the leave requests or the leave that he actually took.
So is it your sworn
Turned
statement?
around with what you had initially requested, and then we looked into the additional things you wanted, and they were also provided to you.
But those additional things were all part of my initial request, correct?
The way I interpreted, no, but the way you're saying that you submitted it, yes.
So you're the one that interprets requests. I'm really curious about this because some of my requests all is interpreted to mean everything under the sun, and a lot of my requests all is interpreted to mean just a small fraction of the documents that Homestead Police Department decides to provide me. Could you explain why the vastly different interpretations on my requests happen in all my requests?
Because we don't know what it is, and we don't know what it is that you're wanting specifically. Second of all, we don't only require clarification from you. We call most of our requesters to verify what it is that they want. Or when the documents are provided, if it's not what they're looking for, then they can clarify, just like you did, and additional documents are always provided.
So you're saying that you misunderstood or misinterpreted my request. Is that your position?
I'm not saying that I misunderstood it. That's what it was. You wanted his leave, and I gave you his leave. If you wanted all the documents, then yeah, after getting all the additional clarification from you, we understood what it is that you were looking for. You wanted all emails, you wanted all, I guess, supporting documents would be the term.
But my request said all documents records, documents, leave slips, etc. ad infinitum related to.
Okay. At that time, I was
Asked,
providing the
asked and
documents
answered at this
that I
point.
saw responsive.
I'm going to object to further. You're asking the same question over and over again, Dr. McDonough. She's giving you the answer. You may not agree with her response, but she's answered your question multiple occasions now.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just completely confused on how this interpretation happens. But we do agree that I received at least 4 sets of responsive documents. Let's see here. Moving along. Give me just a second. Okay. Well, I'd like to just skip down to request 48 here.
Okay.
Now this one is a little confusing for me, so maybe we'll skip over that one. We'll ignore that. Well, let's look at 49.
Okay.
Could you state the date received there?
7/26/19. Sorry, 2/26/19.
And could you state the date on the public records request?
7/26/19.
Now, if we look through this column for the date on public records request, every other date is a February date, not a July date. And it's kind of hard. You would agree that you couldn't file the request 5 months after it was received. So that 7 should probably be a 2.
Probably.
Whether that 7
Dr.
is...
McDonough, I'll just remind you, she already told you that this isn't a document that she created, so you're just asking for speculation at this point. So I'll object to it based on that. But
that's
you're
fine.
your assumptions are probably correct, but she already testified this isn't a document she created, so that's just pure speculation.
That's absolutely fine. I'm assuming, I think we all could reasonably assume that 7 should be a 2. But my question is whether that 7 is a 7 or a 2. 7/26 or 2/26/19 is after 2/18/19, correct?
Yes.
So you would agree, based on the evidence you're seeing here, that the records request subject to 49 was received after my records request 45 was received, correct?
Yes.
And for 49, could we look at column E? Could you tell me who the received was?
Received by the city clerk's office.
And sent to HPD, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Could you read me the date completed on this request?
The 10th.
That's March 10, 2019?
Yes.
And if this request went to the police department, would you have worked on it?
Most likely.
Could you look at the description of the type of the request in column D? And does that refresh your memory? Does that seem familiar at all?
It does not. I get hundreds of requests, but by reading it, it's the request for one accident report.
I understand that. So we do agree that this request was submitted and received after my request, correct?
Yes. Based on the law, yes.
And you agree that March 10th is before March the 11th, correct?
Yes.
So could you explain to me how you stated on the record that Homestead Police Department does everything first come, first serve, first in, first out, and this request was filed after my request, but the records were produced before my records were produced?
I explained earlier that it depends on the scope of the request. If a request is just for one report, that it takes no time to review, and then I have other however many pages that I need to review, this one may go before, may go this, like, it may be dispersed or responded to.
Okay, well, let's look at the type of request for this. Request for case number blah, 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 comma. Date of accident 1/24/2019, comma. Case number 1900290, comma. Date of accident 1/10/2019, comma. Case number 19011700023, comma. Date of accident 1/17/2019. Include 9/11 tape recordings. You would agree that that's seemed like a fairly extensive request asking for more than just one set of records. Is that correct?
It's 3 reports.
3 reports. That's more than what I asked for, right?
No. I needed to review the documents that payroll had submitted to me.
For my request, did you have to review the accident reports and the tape recordings and all the other stuff for this request 49?
For your request, no.
Not my request, the request 49.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm sorry, could you one more time, like, please try to describe how it was that this request was produced before mine?
Objective form asked and answer.
I asked it in a different form. You can answer.
There's 3 accident reports that were requested. At this point, I don't know. I don't have the records in front of me. There might have been no 911 records. There might have been no tapes. Just 3 simple reports, as opposed to leave information from payroll that I'm not familiar with that I need to review each page.
Okay. All right, we'll move along. Let's look at request 50.
Never mind.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. What was that, Ms. Carballosa?
No, I was gonna say there's accident reports are something that I deal with, or reports in general, every single day. Leave records, payroll records, those are very rare things. No one requests those. I mean, barely anyone.
Okay. Well, let's move along and look at the request that's marked 50. Could you read the date in column B that it was received? Or, no, I'm sorry, the date in column A of which it was received?
I'm just going to reiterate my standing objection over the use of this document. We don't have any way to verify the accuracy of the information on.
You could contact Elizabeth Sewell and she could get that to you. Would you?
Well,
like,
it's
would you like to pause?
No, it's your deposition. So you're asking questions regarding it. If this is what you want to use as the exhibit, I'm making my objection.
This is records I've got that the City of Homestead has provided based on how they responded to public records requests. If you think your clients falsified this document, I'm totally ears to listen to that.
Dr. McDonough, I think you know that that's not at all what I'm saying. You've already said that this is, and agreed that this is not a complete document itself. It's a portion of a document you created. It's already it's collapsed and missing rows.
Fix this. So. Would you like to take a 5-minute break and I can come back with the entire Excel spreadsheet? Would that make you more comfortable, Mr. Zeskind?
It's not up to me. I'm making my objection based on what you're using in the deposition. That's your choice, Dr. McDonough.
I'm just saying your objection is based on this is an incomplete Excel. If I provide the complete Excel, would that negate your objection?
It would resolve that particular objection, but that's up to you whether you're comfortable that this is what's accurately, this is an accurate reflection of what's in the Excel spreadsheet or not. That's your decision. I'm making the objection based on what you're using. You can decide how you would like to proceed with that. That is not my decision.
Okay. Well, let's take like a 5 or 10 minute break, and I'll go ahead and I'll pull up the full Excel file, and then we can have a discussion off of that. So give me just a couple minutes. I'll pull this up. If you need to take a break, go ahead. Okay, I can't find the original. I don't want to waste any more time. I guess I can just file for that. And I'm sorry. Is everybody back? Is Mr. Zeskine back with us?
I'm here.
Okay. I'm sorry about that. I'll have to look later or file a request for production of documents. I can't find the initial, so I accept your objection, and we'll just go through this and we'll see what we get. Okay. Back to request 50. Could you read the date received, Ms. Carballosa?
2/26/19.
And you agree that 226 is after 219, correct?
Yes.
And that's 7 days after, correct?
Yeah.
And could you read in column E who it was received by?
HPD directly, according to his law.
And can you read in column F the date that it was replied to?
The 10th.
A 10th. And can you give me a justification for why this request was filed a week after mine but produced the day before mine was?
The same as before. They're asking for one report.
But I thought you had said that you do first in, first out.
I do,
The
but
form.
And in your affidavit, did you not say that there were records requests filed prior to mine that were still pending, and that's why you had not produced the records in my request, even though they had already been retrieved 19 days earlier?
I assume this log is not my log. I don't know what was before. I haven't had a chance to review what came before yours, but yeah.
But you would agree, based on your statement in your affidavit, that if records requests were filed a week after mine and the records were provided before my records were provided, that discredits your statement in your affidavit?
No,
The form.
You can answer.
it doesn't.
You did.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. So your response is that it doesn't discredit your statement?
I explained earlier that based on the scope, they're worked on in the order that they're received. If the scope is bigger, well, something that it takes 5 minutes to do will probably be responded to before that, regardless of the date of where it came.
Okay. All right then. So let's go ahead and I'm going to have to pull up another exhibit. Let me stop sharing this. Let me get my exhibit ready for this. Oh, let's see here. What are we looking for? Okay, let me see if I can get this shared here. Is this the right one? Let's see. Oh, nope. Here we go. This is Exhibit B. These are the records that you provided me in the first request. Do you see this, Paula?
Yes.
Okay. When you look at this document, is there anything that strikes you as being exempt material?
No.
And could you read the time? It's kind of in the top sort of to the right on when this was printed?
It's only half there. I don't.
You don't see the 10:48:45? Let me see if I can highlight that for you. Do you see
Oh,
that?
okay. I was looking. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is the way the records came to me. The top half of the line is cut off. I'm assuming that's 2/20/19 is the date, and then you agree the time is 10:58:45, correct?
Yeah.
And y'all use military time, so that would be 10:58 and 45 seconds a.m., correct?
I don't use the system. I am assuming yes, but I cannot. I don't know.
Okay. You don't think that somebody pulled these records at 10:58 at night, do you?
I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. And here's the second page that was provided in the first set. Could you read the time on that?
10:58:53.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. And is there anything in here that looks to you that would be exempt?
No.
Okay. All right, here's the third page. Could you read the time on this document?
10:58:59.
And do you see anything that looks like it would be exempt?
No.
So a page like this, and you look at it and you don't see any exemptions, how long do you think it would take you to review such a page?
Couple seconds.
A couple seconds. Okay, no, that's fair enough. That's what I'd expect. All right, the next page. Could you read the time on that for us?
10:59:09.
And do you see anything on this page that would be exempt?
No.
Thank you. Next page. Could you read the time?
10:59:29.
And do you see anything that's exempt?
No.
Could you read the next page?
10:59:37.
And do you see anything that's exempt?
No.
Could you read the time on this page?
10:44:22.
And do you see anything that's exempt?
No.
Okay. And could you read the next time?
10:45:11.
And do you see anything that's exempt?
No.
And could you read the next time?
10:45:18.
And do you see anything that's exempt?
No.
And could you read the time on the next page?
10:45:23.
And do you see anything that's exempt?
No.
Thank you. And could you read the next page? Time.
10:45:28.
And do you see any exempt material here?
No.
And could you read the time on this page?
10:45:56.
And do you see any exempt material?
No.
Could you read the time on this page?
10:46:26.
And do you see any exempt material?
No.
And could you read the time on this page?
10:46:46.
And do you see any exempt material?
No.
Could you read the time on this page?
10:46:56.
And do you see any exempt material?
No.
And do you see the time on this page?
10:47:42.
And do you see any exempt material?
No.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No.
Okay, thank you. And could you read the time on this page?
10:47:56.
And do you see any exempt material?
No.
And could you read the time on this page?
10:48:14.
And do you see any exempt material?
No.
Okay. I'll stop sharing this for a second. Now, I went through all these times, and some interesting things that we see here. Do you contest that there was 22 pages of documents I just showed you? Would you like to go
I
through and
count
count them?
them, but, sorry?
Would you like to go back through and count them, or will you take my word that it's 22 pages?
I'll take your word.
Okay. All right. And you didn't print these, is that correct?
No.
No. Okay. Do you know who printed them?
Yes.
Who was that?
It would have been at the moment, Ms. Leoty from payroll.
Okay. And since it was her, you probably won't be able to answer some of my questions. But going through the different timestamps, the earliest timestamp is 10/44/22. Do you remember seeing any times earlier than that? You would agree with me that I'm probably right on that?
Yep.
And the last time shown is 10:59/37. You don't have any reason to question that, correct?
No.
So the total time it took, based on the timestamps on the documents, from the printing of the first document to the printing of the last document was 15 minutes and 15 seconds.
Okay.
It appears between the different documents that the print times changed by about 5 to 30 seconds. However, there is a break of 10 minutes and 30 seconds in the middle. Obviously, you didn't do this, so you can't explain why that 10-minute time gap is there, can you?
No.
No, I didn't think so. And that's fair. But you agree that these records were roughly pulled in 15 minutes of work or less, correct?
I'm assuming so.
Okay. And being as fair to yourself as possible and being very liberal, do you think you could review every document in 30 seconds or less that I showed you for exempt material?
Yeah, more or less.
So it would take in less than 11 minutes to review the material. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Object to form.
Okay. Now, if it takes 11 minutes or less to review those documents, and you receive those documents on the 20th, can you explain how documents or requests were filed after mine and produced before mine? If that is indeed true and the Excel spreadsheet I showed you is correct,
I would have to review the spreadsheets and see what came before.
But you agree that first set of documents that was given me that I just showed you are pretty simple and routine.
I'm sorry, that's cutting out.
You're breaking up.
Sorry, that broke up.
You would agree that those forms I showed you are fairly simple and routine, is that correct?
Dr. McDonough, you've frozen up here.
Hello?
I think he's
We're having some connectivity issues.
All right. Is this working now? Is it coming through?
Yes.
Okay. So, am I still freezing up? Oh, it's unstable.
It's a little choppy.
Sylvia, I'm going to log out and log back in and see if that helps anything.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, am I coming through clear now?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Ms. Carballosa, we've agreed that it would probably take 11 minutes or less to review these records, correct?
More or less.
More or less. And you were in possession of these records on February 20th, correct?
They were printed on the 20th.
But you testified you had them on that day.
I would
Object to
assume.
form. I That's not an accurate reflection of her testimony.
Okay. So if the Excel spreadsheet that I showed you is indeed accurate, if you were in my position, would you have any questions about the records for your request already being retrieved, then requests being filed after your requests were retrieved, but the records being produced before your records were produced? You wouldn't think that was a problem?
Back to form.
You can answer.
I would have to see the whole spreadsheet to see what came before yours.
Okay, but would you agree that the documents that were provided to me in the first set are pretty simple, routine documents, nothing too complicated, not hundreds of words we have to read, thousands of pages of review? It's pretty simple, right? 22 pages?
After I reviewed them, yes. It's not something I'm used to seeing every day, so I wasn't sure what it is that I was getting from payroll.
Okay. Now, if the Excel spreadsheet I showed you is accurate, and you provided records requests and 4 separate requests, or the invoice to people before you provided my records, when their requests were submitted after my records were retrieved, you don't see a problem with that?
I already answered that that is based on the type of request.
Okay, I'm just, it's based on the type of request. So what about the request that would make it do this? I know you said, before you answer it, I know you said that, you know, if one request has thousands of documents and a bunch of things are asking for, and then a later request is a 30-second thing to do, that later request might get produced before the first request. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you have reason to believe that any of those requests that were filed after mine but produced before mine were infinitely less complicated than my records were to review?
Based on the log that you produced, yes.
And how so?
I explained that earlier. Those are routine things that I'm used to looking at. I don't know when the payroll documents were given to me, I didn't know what it was that was in it. So I had to take my time and look and see what it is. I do not deal with that system and those documents on a daily basis.
So would it be accurate to say that you responded to the other request, you retrieved the records, reviewed them for exemption, and you produced them to those requesters before you reviewed my documents?
Check the form.
Maybe I was in the process of reviewing your documents. I don't know.
But you admitted it would take 11 minutes or less to review my documents.
Now that I have seen them, yes.
Okay. All right, well, let's go back to, let me see if I can find your transcript real quick. Or deposit, affidavit, sorry. Let me get all this reorganized. I had to rotate some things. Okay, let me share this again with you. Okay. In paragraph 7, you said, after city received plaintiff's petition, the city clerk followed up with me regarding plaintiff's request, and I provided her with the reports. Is it fair to say that had Sewell or the clerk not sent you a copy of my lawsuit, that it would have been even longer before my records were provided?
Form.
Pardon? I didn't hear you. What was the answer?
No.
No, it's not fair to say that. If it's not fair to say that, could you explain why you added that into your affidavit?
Check the form.
You can answer.
I don't have the dates in front of me, but I believe that the records were provided as that document you filed. They were kind of like a day or so apart. They kind of like crossed.
So is it your testimony that had I not filed my lawsuit, that I would have gotten the records on March the 11th anyway?
Yes.
Okay. Again, I remind you that you're under oath and you're required to answer questions truthfully.
I'm aware.
Okay. I'll stop sharing this. I have another document I would like to show you. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Okay, this is a copy of a leave absence form. The city clerk provided me with this. I'll scroll through real quick so you can see what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with this form?
No.
Can you show her the whole form, please, including the bottom?
I'm trying to show the whole thing. I can't make the whole thing. I mean, here's the bottom of it,
There you go.
and here's the top of it. I mean, I can minimize it, I guess, get the whole thing on there, but it'll be...
Yeah, is there a way to, or at least when you scroll through, I just want to make sure that she can see, the witness can see the whole exhibit.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm willing to take as much time to look at this as possible. So you've never seen this form, Ms. Carballosa?
I've seen it in the past when a request was submitted for it.
Okay. And let me see here if I can highlight this, if it'll let me do it. Do you see the section I'm highlighting right here?
I do.
Could you read what's highlighted?
Bereavement leave, relationship of deceased must be filled out.
Okay. So are you familiar with the bereavement leave or funeral leave policy with the Homestead Police Department?
Not 100%, but yes, I am aware of it.
Okay. I'm not going to hold you to this, but generally or roughly, there's a policy that if police officers have a family member that's deceased, they get a certain amount of time for bereavement or funeral to attend the funeral and take care of whatever they need to take care of. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Roughly? Okay. And this form is from the city of Homestead, and I requested it, the bereavement leave form, from the police department through Elizabeth Sewell. And it says bereavement leave, and it has a checkbox, and it says relationship to deceased, and it has a line to be filled out, and then below it says much be filled out, correct?
Yes.
So if Merguido took funeral leave or bereavement leave, there should be a copy of this form in Homestead Police Department's records. Is that correct?
If it happened after the form was put in play, then yes.
Okay. And you reviewed all the different records that you gave to Elizabeth Sewell that she provided me?
Yes.
And did you ever see a copy of this form?
No.
So if this form was in existence at the time that Merguido took his funeral leave, and the earlier records I showed you that you provided in the first set, one page of that showed him taking funeral leave. So based on him, you giving those records showing he took funeral leave, and there being a copy of this form, unless this form came after that, you agree a copy of this form should be part of the responsive records I've requested, correct?
Check the form.
You can answer.
Technically, yes, but the city of Homestead is the one that uses this form. We at the police department do not. When we hear requests for leave, we don't fill this paper out. We have an electronic system that tracks all of our transactions when it has to do with leave or sick or whichever it is. So
And
I
you're not
am
a
not
police officer,
100%
correct?
sure if they're mandated to fill out this form. I don't know.
And you're not a police officer, correct? So you probably have different policies or benefits in your contract than the police officers would have?
Yes.
Okay. And in your benefits or your contract, do you get bereavement or funeral leave as a benefit as well?
I do.
You do. And if somebody dies that's a relative that you take bereavement leave, do you have to inform anybody of who of what the relationship to the deceased is?
I would just inform my supervisor that someone passed. I don't know if they would ask me who it is. It's never happened. I don't know.
Would you agree it would make sense?
Well, I've had to use bereavement leave once, but it was many years ago. I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Could you repeat that?
I've had to use bereavement leave only once, many years ago. So I don't know what requirements or what is asked.
Okay. Would you agree that it is wise for a government agency that offers bereavement leave to require the requester to state the relationship of the deceased? That way they don't have 8 dead grandmas and 4 dead moms?
I don't know. I'm assuming.
Normally y'all are pretty good about documenting everything when people take leave. Like if somebody gets a week of vacation leave a year, they don't just get to take 3 weeks of vacation leave, correct?
Yes.
Everything has to be documented when you're taking leave, correct?
The times, yes.
In none of the records you ever provided me, in any of the responsive sets of records you gave to Sewell that gave to me, there was no document, there was no copy of this form or any document that would have stated the relation of the deceased to Merguido. Is that correct?
Check the form.
You can answer.
Like I said before, we don't track it with this form, so the form would most likely not been. I know it's not there. We don't use this form. We use everything is a digital system. I don't know if his supervisor at the time asked him who it was that had passed away.
But again, you're not a police officer. You're under different policies, correct?
I am.
When police officers take funeral bereavement leave, do you know what policy they have to follow or what they have to do?
I do not.
You do not. So you can't really answer to state that Merguido's supervisor would never fill out a form such as this or one that looks like that. Is that correct?
If there was a form, it would have been with the records that I pulled.
Okay. Well, I'm still confused with that because I sent a very clear records request that apparently you didn't understand how to properly interpret it. And I was provided
Reject the form.
I was provided at least 4 sets of documents after I repeatedly said that not all documents had been provided. Only once did I say what some of the records that had not been provided were. I just continued to say that records had not been provided, and additional records continue to be provided to me. Is that correct? Would you disagree
Reject
with
the
that?
form.
You can answer.
I would have to review your emails.
Okay. Could you go and verify, not today, but could you get back with me, or would you agree to get back with me after you check to see if there's a leave form such as this that Homestead police officers are required to fill out when they take bereavement leave, or if there's any place that the relationship to the deceased is marked on any documents?
Are you making a public records request right now, Dr. McDonough?
I'm making a request from the witness. We can consider it a 119 request as well. I'm happy to speak to Sewell because I want to make sure I follow. I mean, I can do it as a records request, and I want to know because I filed a records request for the copy of the funeral bereavement form from HPD. This is the document that the city provides me with, and Ms. Carballosa is saying that this document's not used. So I'm really confused. I'm trying to clarify if a document like this document, or a document such as this would have been used, because clearly no such document was ever provided to me.
Right. Well, we can certainly, if you want to make a request or do a request for production, that's fine. This deposition wasn't noticed ducis tecum, so
yeah, I know.
Bring documents with her. But I mean, if this particular document, if you scroll down, you'll see it was created in 2019. You requested 2013 to 2015. So
Okay.
that's probably why this wouldn't have been included. But if you're looking for something specific, just make a either a records request or
My
which you obviously know how to
problem,
do. Or,
counselor, with all due respect to you, is I've made records requests. I've made very explicit records requests, and I don't get the records that I requested.
well, I understand
why
that.
they give me
I
this
understand
record.
I understand that's your claim, but you're asking for something from the witness now and
Excuse me,
trying
sir,
to get.
that's not my claim. That's a documented fact. It's a documented fact.
We don't need to have that discussion during the deposition. I'm making sure, since you asked the witness for documents, whether that was a public records request, because we're in a deposition, I need to make sure that I get a copy of the transcript to know what it is exactly that you've asked for. Hi, Elizabeth. We're not ready for you yet.
Audio? Okay.
Hi, Elizabeth. We're not ready. We're not ready for you yet.
Okay. All right.
I'll let you know when to sign back in. Okay.
Leave. Okay.
Thanks. So that's all I was asking.
My problem, Mr. Zeskine, is I've had police officers from Homestead, current or retired police officers from Homestead, tell me that at the time that you were required to state what the position or the relationship of the deceased was, and no documents I've ever gotten has shown what the relationship of the deceased was. And until somebody clearly swears on the record and proves that no such document will exist, or I'm provided with a document, I have to believe and assume that I have not been provided with all documents. You agree that's reasonable, correct? I know you're not under oath, but you're having a discussion, so.
I understand that is the position you're taking and that's the claim you're pursuing. My interjection was based on the request you just made of the witness to get back with you on additional documents. I'm trying to understand under what authority you were trying to do that, so that it can, so that
well, I was asking her if she would
respon-
comply willfully. If not, I'm more than happy to submit a request for production of documents.
Well,
that's easy. We
understand that she's a witness, right, in the case. She's not a party to the case, so you're either and she wasn't noticed duces tecum or subpoenaed
Mr.
duces tecum.
Zeskine, we don't need to continue this discussion. If she's not required to get it, she doesn't want to get it, or you're not going to make her get it for me, that's fine. I'll file a request for reduction. We don't need to continue this conversation.
Okay.
That's real simple. I'll file a request for reduction. That settles that. Okay. Let me see. Just give me a minute here. I think I'm about wrapped up. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. And real quick, I just want to verify. So you did state that you haven't spoken with anybody about this case or this deposition. Nobody coached you what to say or how to say anything. And everything that you've said today is on your own will, out of your own mind, on your own volition, and you believe it to be true and accurate.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have no further questions. Did you have any questions, Mr. Zeskine?
No questions. The witness will read.
Okay.
What time would you like to start?
I'll be back at
Ms.
11:30. I need to use the bathroom.
11:30. Okay. All right.
All right. See you back, everybody.
See you then.
Mr. Zeskine, I'll see you back at 11:30. Sylvia, I'll see you back at 11:30. Thank you so much for your time today.
Okay, thank you.